upbringing. We used to follow the Gumbays. We used to play at Fort Hamilton. That was our playground, you know, and yeah, I still have very good friends all along there from all the way. My granny was actually born down on
No,
She was seven girls. Where Dilworth is now was where their house was. So yeah, it's always been my neighborhood, you know.
Okay.
I'm a Warwick girl now, but that's where I was born and raised. So in about 90 seconds, I'll introduce y'all and we'll introduce the topic and then we will have our chat.
Okay. You know,
Thank you.
I wanted to tell her to call me on Wally Moon, not Mrs. Van Buck. Shelley,
Sorry,
Can you?
if you would call me M. Wally Moo, that's how folks know
I'm
me.
Wally Moo. Yeah,
Yes.
that's how I introduced you before. And Wally Moo. When I said you were coming up, I've heard you say your name enough times, and I'm like the
Okay.
person that helps people pronounce either really long European names or African names, you know,
Okay,
around here
okay.
because
Why
people
don't I
fall
remember you?
I don't know. I mean, I've not interviewed you before,
Okay,
but
okay.
I've seen a couple of your programs on Channel
Okay.
82.
Okay.
I've worked closely with Lamone a few times. I
Okay.
do audio visual as well here on the
Okay.
island, and I do sound for live music a lot
Okay.
here on the island. So.
Okay, so now I know
Yeah.
why, because, like,
No, I don't think we've actually spoken in person before, but I am familiar with your mission and what you're trying to teach folk, you know? ready to
You want
start
us to
that?
pull these up?
No,
or we're
no,
okay?
they're fine
Okay.
right there,
All
okay
right,
guys?
thank you.
Thank you.
There's only two of them.
Good job, B. Says little Blue Ivy right there with her beautiful mom, Beyonce, right there. That's from the Lemonade album and her daddy lessons, taking us down to the bottom of the hour. And as I mentioned just a couple minutes ago, we have the folks from Curb in studio this morning. And not just the folks from Curb, but some very, very special guests this morning as well, because there's a special event coming up. We have Curb's Executive Director, Stacey Lee Williams. We have Ashe University's Mwalimu Melody Van Putten, and we also have Dr. Ric Mathis in studio with us. Welcome, 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 folks. Thanks for getting up so early.
Yes,
good morning.
Hotep, good morning.
Yeah.
Greetings.
An important discussion series and film coming our way very shortly. So I guess, I don't know, maybe Stacey, you want to start and we'll talk about when these things are going to happen, and then we'll get in depth with Dr. Mathis and Mwalimu about the topics.
Yes,
Perhaps
good
you could do
morning,
that.
everyone. So we are very happy to be a part of this collaborative with Ashe University and Crimson Multimedia. And this evening at the Bermuda Underwater Exploration Institute, we will be having the film that Dr. Mathis has produced, and that's the B1 movie, and the Code of Blackness. So it's Black First, Code of Blackness. And so we're very happy to have him and to hear his empowering presentation that will come along with the film.
Sure.
And not only will we be showcasing the film this evening, but also tomorrow. So
Awesome.
this evening's event starts at 5:30 with a cocktail hour. And then after the cocktail hour, we will have the movie, and then questions and answers with our esteemed guest. In the morning, we will have at 9:30, sort of like refreshments, continental. We will showcase the movie again.
On Saturday.
We will be doing some strategy work, to talk about how that film resonates here on the island. We have some guiding questions around that. And so we will be talking about some Bermudian issues, but using this film to guide that conversation. Right after lunch, and lunch will be provided, but right after lunch, then we will have a panel discussion with some esteemed guests as well, along with Dr. Mathis and Mwalimu here, all on the panel. And then we will be closing the day with another brief film on healing history and closing the day. So it's a lot involved.
A lot going on, you guys.
We're
It's gonna be
excited.
busy.
Yes, we're inviting senior school students. The price for them is $20,
25.
$25, and adults it's $40, and that price is inclusive of both days.
Sure.
So you don't have to
Come for
come
the whole
both
day.
days, but it's inclusive of both days.
Mhm.
So we've made it affordable for people to come out and enjoy this experience. But now that's enough of me. You can hear from our other guests.
Well, Walimu, I think maybe you should maybe introduce a little bit more about your involvement in this, and then we can let Dr. Mathis talk a little bit about, I mean, we all know that Citizens Uprooting Racism in Bermuda is has a mandate to bring the community together, and I think Dr. Mathis's film is going to go a long way into understanding, because the Code of Blackness here, and maybe Dr. Mathis, you can talk about your definition of the code. It's very, very tiny here on the thing that you gave me, but perhaps you can talk about that a little bit and say exactly that, because I know through knowledge of Bermuda's history a little bit that before desegregation there was much wealth and community within the Black community. The Rayner family comes to mind. I know, Stacey, you probably know what I'm talking about here, but I think the point you're trying to make is man's inhumanity to man is frightening today anyway with the state of the world, correct?
Correct.
But this is specifically about, Black people supporting Black people, right?
Yes. As you know, Ashe University has
Mhm.
been a community education program for about 15 years now.
Mhm.
And it is all about how do we empower ourselves
Yes.
in a society that continues to oppress us in different ways. It's
For
more
sure.
subtle now.
Mhm.
No
It's
one
still
can
there.
deny that, but it is still there. It's institutionalized, it's
Mhm.
systemic.
Mhm.
And so when you asked how did this happen, some people know that I'm originally from Philadelphia,
Mhm.
and my work started there, and there are still a good 1,000 or so young people that I've mentored who are now adults. And one of those young people who is doing phenomenal work in Philadelphia brought Dr. Mathis to Philadelphia
Mhm.
for the film. And they had a phenomenal event, and he contacted me and said, Walimu, you have to meet Dr. Mathis. I'm going to set this up, and you need to meet him because he's right up your alley. And so we connected first via email, then on Zoom. And when I met him, I was moved. I said, oh, he could be my son.
There you go.
Because it's like having the opportunity to pass the baton to someone who's doing the work, has the heart, has the vision. And I must also say that at this point in my life and career, I'm also looking for ease. How to do
Just sit back
things,
a little bit.
well, how to do things that the universe would have me do in terms of alignment,
Sure.
but also bringing the various pieces together so it can happen without so much struggle.
Sure.
I sometimes say, I'm an old lady, I just look good, but I have to, I still have to do the work. So Stacey Lee said yes, Lamone Woods of Crimson Media said yes, and here we are.
Yeah.
Here we are.
Here we
So enough of me.
It's going to be a
And we're-
spectacular event, I'm sure.
It is. It really
Yes.
is.
Dr. Mathis, if you don't mind, would you start with on code and that definition for our listeners, please?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. First off, I want to say thank you all for inviting me and hosting me in this beautiful country of Bermuda. You all have done an amazing job operating in excellence. I mean, everything has been spectacular so far. So, again, my name is Dr. Ric Mathis. I'm a filmmaker from the west side of Atlanta, Georgia, and produced a film with Dr. Boyce Watkins entitled B1, The Code of Blackness. Now, your question is, what is the definition?
I see. It's
Of
just
the
that it's
code.
so
Yes.
tiny. I did
Mhm.
read it when I do this, but I can't. I really think it is very succinct
Mhm.
and puts what your mission is in perfect clarity.
Yes.
So could you please
Of course.
say it for our listeners?
Sure, sure. So, before we share the code of what it means to be on code,
Yeah.
let's just look at where we are in society as
Sure.
people of color. So if you look at you know, the economic categories,
Mhm.
health disparities,
Mhm.
and things of that nature, you know, we tend to rank at the bottom of those categories. So what we're saying by being on code is let's put black first, meaning let's put the needs of us first
Mhm.
so that we can then have an equal playing field and
Absolutely.
that we can be, you know, on a level playing field. When you look at the game of chess,
Mhm.
you know, chess is one of those games where everybody gets the same amount of pieces.
Yep.
You get to see the transparent moves,
Mhm.
but in society it's not that
It's
way.
not like that, no.
So that's what we're saying.
Mhm.
Let's all have the same amount of pieces,
Mhm.
and let's all be transparent with the moves.
Mhm.
Equity.
Equity, yeah,
Yes.
it's a good way to put that for
Mhm.
sure.
Yes.
And I suppose you delved into the like why, the whys of that situation,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and what do you think, you know, apart from, you know, old colonial, you know, establishment things that are oppressive,
Mhm.
why else do you think that it hasn't become, the equity hasn't come faster?
Wow. Okay, so that's a loaded question. So
Kinda,
when you
sorta.
look at when you look at our narrative here,
Sure.
you know, in this country as well as America,
Mhm.
you know, we've been stripped of our land, our language, and our legacy.
Sure.
So therefore, we've had a narrative that is unlike our counterparts.
Mhm.
So therefore, the race hasn't been equal.
Sure.
So what we're saying is, let's make the race equal. Let's level the playing field. You know, you look at in America now with the, you know, the presidential race. You know, that's happening now.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Mhm.
yeah. So you
It's
know, so
intense.
yeah. So that's one example there.
Mhm.
And then the other thing that we really like to stress is really get down to practical solutions.
Sure.
We have a curriculum here called the B1 curriculum
Mhm.
where we offer practical solutions. We also have the film in a digital version
Mhm.
as well as a physical version.
Mhm.
But we go through certain exercises because the last thing that I want to do is come and have a conversation and not leave practical solutions.
Absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
so one of the practical solutions is simply to, how can I say this? Is to look at where you are now
Mhm.
and then say, okay, what can I do now? When you look at the cost of housing here in Bermuda, when you look at food is double the price
Mm.
of what it
Did that
is
scare
in
you when we were in a
America.
grocery store?
Exactly.
Dr. Mathis?
Exactly. So one of the things we're saying is work together. You know, gather 5, 10, 20 people, work together and hold each other accountable
Like a
for your
collective.
actions correctly.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
Let me also say, when you ask about how do we get here and the issue of equity,
Mhm.
we still have a tremendous gap in our education system in terms of people learning who African people really are.
Exactly. I agree.
You cannot really progress unless you have a fuller understanding of
Mhm.
where you have come from.
Mhm.
Dr. Mathis used the term that everything has been done with excellence. Well, African people established the foundations of excellence in antiquity,
Sure.
but most young people do not learn that,
The
no matter
knowledge is
what
not
their
out
color.
there.
Mhm.
I'm
It's
sorry?
just, the knowledge is not taught, I should say. The knowledge
Yes.
is out there, but it's,
But it's
just
not taught.
And
But
again,
but it's even more than that, Shelley,
sure,
because there is a resistance to teach it.
absolutely. I get that, and I totally agree with you. And often find myself sort of on the side of the argument that you're talking on when the conversation comes up, because yeah, like I was explaining to you earlier, and Stacy would probably understand a little bit better. I'm from Happy Valley, third generation, and we were the only white family in the black community there, but there was equity in the community with my father and his 8 siblings, and to the point that everyone played collectively within the neighborhood. They even let him play cowbell for the Gumbays. That's a big deal. And he was a carpenter's apprentice because he couldn't go to school either, you know, after 13 back in those days. So it is about the willingness to see our commonalities before our differences that I think is really lacking. You know, I'm into music here a lot, and I'm also a foodie here on the island. So if we can break bread together and make music together and find the joy, I don't Well, I guess I know why, because we know why the oppression still exists. It's fear of lack, generally, that
Yes,
fuels wars, right?
and you
But-
know we have a lack consciousness
Sure,
Mhm.
absolutely.
that the society is built thinking that
There's not enough. Let
that
me
there's
protect
not
mine
enough.
and you
Exactly.
can't look at
Right,
my paper.
exactly exactly
And part of that is one of the main reasons why racism persists in Bermuda
Sure.
is that internalized piece.
Absolutely.
We're conditioned to think certain ways. We're conditioned to
Yes.
think things are better than.
Yeah,
And so we need to start shifting that. And I think this movie
Yeah.
will help us
Yeah.
with that conversation that we have started. But
absolutely.
we need to bring more people into that,
Yes,
into
I
that
agree.
conversation, both
Uh-huh.
black and white.
Absolutely.
However, we need to know our part because
For sure.
we're both. White people are victims of internalized racism as well as us,
absolutely.
as well as black people.
that's right.
And so we need to have those conversations and bring more unity.
Yeah,
And also we all have our work to do.
for sure.
Mhm.
White people's work is their work.
Sure.
Black people's work is black
Yes.
people's work.
And I know that
And-
you
and-
try and educate so well with the foundation that you have here to make that point.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
but that's why I said there's still resistance.
Yeah,
We don't quite yet understand that all people have an important contribution to
The value
make to our
is lost.
right
Yes.
to
Mhm.
our wellness and wholeness.
Sure.
So, but for black people, in terms of being on code,
Mhm.
it starts with us.
For
We
sure.
we have to be on code with ourselves.
Mhm.
So that's what I often call the inside work for the next level of outside change.
Mhm.
So that's part of what this conversation is about. But as Stacy has said,
Mhm.
all people are invited because when we break out in strategy sessions, there'll be groups of commonality.
Sure.
You know, so because again, white people have their work to do
Sure.
and black people have their work to do.
That's right. I love it.
And just as you know, in last June we did have Shelley Touchlock here,
Okay,
who we focused on white identity.
gotcha.
So we are like being very intentional
Sure.
about this work
Yeah.
and who we bring to share with our community in Bermuda.
Absolutely.
Because
Yeah.
it's about healing.
Exactly, and I really like the fact that Curb is never like waving radical flags and hyping up discontent or anything like that. It is always this very calm, very deliberate way of saying, because people can, rail at the machine as much as they like, but if you just hold that information right there,
Yes.
and people can go, but yeah, but yeah, but what, and I think that consistency is going to achieve what you're talking about quicker than all the discourse and or disturbance and upheaval. So what we're talking about, the political situation in the U.S., of course,
Yes.
right? We don't have too much more time left, guys, so I want to reiterate the event. And people need to go to PTX for their tickets, right?
They can,
Go to
yes.
PTX for their tickets.
PTX.bm,
Uh-huh.
yes.
And definitely be a part of it, folks. If you're not part of trying to find the solution, then you're just whining about the obvious. We can all state the obvious if
Yes.
we just look around.
Yes.
But thinking about how to correct a course that's gone awry or something like that takes a whole lot of more collective effort. Which is why, Dr. Mathis, I'm trying to read this. Can you please just say
So-
your definition of being on code?
Let me see if I
think
can
will
pull it up
resonate.
here.
You know, it's just so tiny here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try.
No, I have it.
Are
I
you
have it.
sure? Okay.
Let's see. I have it right here. I wanted to. I see you want to know it verbatim.
Uh-huh.
So, being on code. Being on code means being sensitive to what the black society needs to survive and thrive, and putting those needs first and foremost before one's personal needs.
The last three words.
Yes,
I
one's
think.
personal needs. Because here's the thing in closing. The generation of today has been taught that it's me.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
But when you come through customs, what do they ask for? They ask for your family name.
Sure.
So it's about your family. When
Mhm.
you go back previous generations,
Mhm.
it was all about the family. My family this, like you just said, my
Sure.
family is 3 generations
Sure.
here in Bermuda.
Yeah.
And that's very valuable knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
But what's even more valuable than that is you understand that economics is a team sport.
It is.
When you look at the Rockefellers, the DuPonts,
Sure.
it's a family business.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been taught, I know in America, that we can go out here and we can make all of these millions and billions as individuals,
Mhm.
when in fact business is a team sport.
It is, for sure. And if for business to be successful in the broader form is
Mhm.
a team sport as well. We're seeing some people who are very wealthy come to sort of, nefarious things have been put out about them now, and the facade is crumbling. I'll put it that way.
Mhm.
So greed, fear
Yeah.
of lack, starts wars around the world. Not enough gold, not enough food, not enough whatever.
Yeah.
So emphasizing that there is enough,
Mm-hmm.
and we all just need to figure out how to share it with equity. I
Yeah,
think.
because we live in a universe of
Hello.
abundance.
We
When you
do.
look at the trees,
We do,
there's
we do.
abundant trees.
Everywhere,
You never see. When the last time have you seen a homeless bird?
for
When
sure.
last time have you seen a bird that is starving?
I love the analogies. Yes.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we live in a universe of abundance. We've been
Mhm.
programmed to think that there's lack.
Sure,
Mhm.
exactly.
You know, so
Mhm.
we have to reprogram ourselves
And
to
anger
understand
comes
that.
from fear
Yes.
too in the psyche, right? So having reducing that anger, getting some knowledge, doing it this way. I hope there is standing room only, that you got to paint some chairs on the wall, because there's not enough.
I love it.
I hope you do. I really
Well,
hope.
but let me just say,
Mhm.
tickets are going, and
Yes.
we are close to capacity.
Exactly.
For sure.
So if you want to come, and we
Go
would
on
love
the
you
web
to.
now.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. Do
Don't
not
wait.
delay
Uh-huh.
to avoid disappointment.
For sure.
Yes.
Again, we've had a wonderful discussion here. I gotta let these guys go and get on with the rest of the day here, folks. It's been a pleasure having Curb's Executive Director Stacey Lee Williams, Ashe University's Mwalimu Melody Van Putten, as we know and love her so much, and Dr. Ric Mathis with B1, the movie, The Code of Blackness. It's all coming up starting this evening, right?
Yes.
Yeah, starting this evening and throughout the day tomorrow. Go on ptix.pm for all of the information that you're going to need to do that. And we want to thank you guys for working as hard as you do and as diligently as you do, and consistently, without rancor, to try and resolve these issues, both here and hopefully we can be an example for the rest of the world. I hope so.
Thanks
you.
for having us.
Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Hotep.
Thank you so much
Hotep.
for coming, guys. Safe journeys. Can't say you didn't know, folks. We just told you all about it right here on Bermuda's best music mix. It's Ocean 89.
Good job, ladies.
Yes. Did you have?
Yeah, we got it.
Okay.
That went
Yeah.
fairly well, folks, yeah?
Oh yeah.
Good. Good. Are you chatting with Christy this morning too? Do you need to wait for her? If you